Hey YouTube, Zealous Talon here with day 4 of my 100 subscribers special Skylanders Spyro's Adventure review. Today is the Undead element. Yesterday was Life. If you haven't watched that, please check it out. I'd really appreciate it. Again, this is a thank you to my 100 subscribers. So, the Undead element is obviously kind of themed around, ghost spirits, skeletons, the undead, obviously. So, with that in mind, let's get started. We're going to take a look at Cinder first. She is the dragon of this element. Now, Cinder is kind of interesting. I didn't play a lot of the Spyro games, but apparently she was a character that appeared in some of the ones for like PS2 or something like that. As a villain character, and then Spyro defeats and redeems her, so she is now a Skylander. Honestly, her playstyle is actually kind of somewhat similar to Spyro's in the general sense, in that her primary attack is a breath weapon, her secondary is a dashing attack, and her tertiary is flight. So, she has the same basic move setup as Spyro, but just different power levels and overall execution and effect. So, she's primarily purple, and she's really the only undead character that doesn't immediately appear to be zombified or skeletal or anything like that. White eyes, blue iris, nice silver horns and wing claws. She's got a little spiked choker and wristbands, and a little bladed tip on her tail. She has a nice lighter purple, kind of almost like lavender, for her wing membrane that has a nice gradient to black at the trailing edge of the wing. And she doesn't have that same lavender on the other underside, but she does have the same black gradient going on. And her really nice is that her tongue is painted, which obviously they had to do before assembling her. You can see when you get really close up to the figure, there's a seam where her jaw would attach. So it's nice that they were able to get that detail in. And her pose is kind of cool. She kind of looks like she's about to rear up and strike, even though she doesn't have actually any physical, direct melee hack and smash attacks. I kind of do like Cinder just because she's the only female dragon in Spyro's Adventure. I mean, in Giants they added Flashwing, but and she's kind of got a nifty, lean little build. She's got really kind of lanky arms, and she has a very feline gait in the game. Brilliant scale detailing all over her body, just really nicely done. Some nice red on her underbelly. Got some plated scales there, so overall pretty nifty character, but not my favorite of the dragons. In fact, she's probably my least favorite just because she doesn't immediately invoke her element at a first glance until you look at the base, which is, the typical undead base. Pretty much all of the undead Skylanders share the same base. And the really nifty thing with these is that in a dark setting, the skull will glow in the dark once it's received some light, so that's pretty cool. Next up is Hex. Hex was one of the initial characters released. Unlike Cinder, Cinder came out kind of later on. She came out at the same time as Zook and Lightning Rod. So she was a early spring of 2012 release. Hex came out the same time as the game itself did. I really do kind of dig Hex. She's got this clear skull molded onto her hand because one of her primary attack is shooting a skull orb just straight ahead. She's basically like an elf lich. Her whole story is that she went to battle the dragon that actually corrupted Cinder, and when she came back from the underworld, she had been corrupted by undead magic herself and had become an undead, but she's still on the side of good. So she's, very pasty, pale, wide eyes, and got this whole black gown going on with some elbow-length fingerless gloves, and her nails are painted black, which is pretty cool as well. I do like Hex. She's just got a very lean build, and again, like Cinder, she's one of the few female Skylanders from the first game, and she stands out really well, just because no other Skylander really has her aesthetic. And I really like her headdress with just the molded kind of wings going on there. Not a whole lot of paint, but she doesn't really need it for her look. I mean, she's got some really dark blue lipstick going on there, which is kind of nifty. But I dig Hex. She's extremely effective in game as well. Just great synergy with her moves. So, one of the better ones, in my opinion. Ghost Roaster was another early release character. He came out with the, what was it? The Darklight Crypt adventure pack. So, if you got all the levels, you've got Ghost Roaster. And he's kind of cool. He's kind of a wraith, so he's got like a skeletal upper body. No legs, but he has this ball and chain for a tail, so he almost kind of looks like a punished spirit in a way. I get kind of the Jacob Marley vibe, in a sense. He's got this wicked cool, really high up maroon collar. Really nice detail on his arms, which are, all bone. Then he's got the skull going on with some just vicious looking fangs and some spikes going up his head, yellow creepy eyes with red irises. Not one of my favorites, not a whole lot to say about him. He's got a very obvious kind of aesthetic going on. One of the neat things though is if you look at the side of him, you can kind of see the ridging there. He does have his ribs kind of molded in to look like they're under his coat, which is a nice little detail. But again, he's one of those ones that doesn't have a lot of paint, but didn't really need it anyway. And the ball looks nice and metallic. It looks like the chain might have been molded in a metallic plastic, because this doesn't quite look painted. It kind of does on camera, but once you get it in hand, it looks more like it's just a metallic gray plastic. So, but for what he is, he's good. He's not exceptional, but he's solid. I do just kind of dig him. He cackles maniacally whenever you're using him. And he's got some nice flair to his character. Last up is Chop Chop, who is actually one of my favorite Skylanders in general. He's somewhat more effective in the 3DS version than in the console version. But either way, I just really like him because he has a very unique play style with the sword and the one-handed sword and a shield, which allows him to defend and then counterattack, which is a skill that not many other Skylanders have. And his armor is just gorgeously painted, metallic blue with bronze highlights. Even on his shield is very well done, and then he's got bright yellow eyes and a little yellow mouthpiece and kind of this third eye going on up top on his crest. His sword is just a beautiful metallic silver. And his helmet really does have traits of a skull with these kind of cheekbone bits, and very wide at the top, very narrow towards the bottom. You can see under his armor he's obviously a skeleton. He was an Archean soldier before he was recruited. So he's an ancient and powerful warrior, and the big crest on his helmet invokes... He kind of has this Spartan element going on with the crest and the shield, and actually I think one of his upgrades, or one of his upgrade paths in general, might be Shield Spartan, but I don't remember quite for sure. But he is a lot of fun to play as just because he's so unique, and he's just kind of a badass to use. He's just a vicious combatant. And I really dig his look. It's like one of those cannon fodder RPG skeleton enemies, but turned into an actual viable threat. So that's the 4 basic Undead characters. I dig them overall. It's a very solid element, but not exactly exceptional, but still worth picking up if only to complete your collection. This has been Zealous Talon, again, with a look at the Undead Skylanders of Spyro's Adventure. Please stay tuned for more. Thanks.